Happy Halloween, everybody! Welcome to the Halloween special that I've been preparing for a while now. This is a different kind of video, as you can see. I'm not using the avatar, and this is not a typical reading video. But today we are going to go over Bibliomania, a short psychological horror series made by Orville and illustrated by Makiro. I recommended this series on my Unhinged horror series video, and I always wanted to finish this series because when I made that video I was only halfway through it. So today we're just going to go over the entire thing. No summarization, page by page, word by word. Basically a creepcast video, but it's just me. Even though a lot of people have told me that I look like meat cannon over the years. Also, I planned on making another Halloween special, but since I wanted to do this video first, we're going to be posting another special on November 8th. A collab video with the one and only Fright Ranker, with the first part already uploaded on his channel, so the link will be in the description below. And if you guys want more videos with this new format, then let's go ahead and hit 2K likes on this video, guys. And why not scroll down and hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. First off, I want to mention that Bibliomania means symptom of obsessive compulsion disorder, which involves the collecting or hoarding of books to the point where social relations or health were damaged. Which is weird because the title of the manga doesn't really seem to correlate with the story so far, at least where I ended it off. Maybe at the end it is revealed to be like related to books. I know the main character is supposed to be a reference to Alice, like in Alice in Wonderland. So maybe there is like something there. And already we got this work is read from left to right, which not a lot of people really know about the creators of this book. We know that it won an award and we know their names. However, we don't even know if those are two different people or if they're the same person. We don't even know if they're Japanese. Since we're reading it left to right, I doubt they're Japanese. They might be Westerners. They might be like from the United States. They might be from Europe. We don't know actually. So that's already like a little interesting start. And already we have in the first page a Bible verse, which is interesting, that says, "I have other sheep too, that are not in this sheepfold. I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice, and there will be one flock with one shepherd." Which is funny because I'm literally reading this book in a Bible study. But basically, Jesus is making an analogy to that he's the good shepherd and we're the sheep. He's supposed to be bringing us to salvation as the shepherd. And in this verse, he's talking about how other sheep that aren't a part of his flock, he wants to bring them together under one shepherd, him. The other sheep are being led by shepherds who would abuse or abandon those who claim to lead. Now, what does this mean for the manga? I have no clue. I'm guessing with like the obsession of books, Alice will probably be obsessed with like, I don't know, a couple of sacred religious books that would lead her into like the situation that she's in right now. From what a lot of people have told me, this series is very confusing. So again, we're just gonna have to go through it one by one. So already we are in a dystopian looking city with a like mushroom cloud in the background, and it says, "I heard a loud sound. I opened my eyes. It would seem the sturdy coffin that sealed me has been broken. Did someone do it on purpose? Or was it an act of nature? I'll leave this coffin and fill my belly for the first time in a while." We see a giant like egg-like building with like a giant hole on the side of it. I'm guessing there's also a picture of like a tank. So I'm guessing the tank either blew it up or the egg or whatever is inside the egg actually blew the hole open. We don't know yet. But as we see, like something is like coming out. I'm guessing that is from the like egg. And then we see a bunch of people panicking, and it says, "I'll eat without thinking of anything. I'll eat." And then we see a little boy staring at the shadow, and it says that it's a snake. We see people running around in the dystopian city, very panicked. A lot of people are calling it a monster. That monster ate them all. And then we see that the snake that we're supposedly following says, "Eat, eat, and eat. It is, after all, my only happiness." And then we get this cool shot of these two strangers stared at by these two giant eyes. And then we see a bunch of ruined like ships, warships, like planes as well, all distorted, but it's also like weirdly modified. It looks super cool. And then we also see the title Bibliomania, which is in like some, what it gives me like some Native American tattoo vibes. That's the vibes that it's giving me. The ships and the planes looking kind of like weird with like the extra designs. I don't know if that was there already or whatever caused these like ruins actually did it, actually gave that effect to these ships and planes. But yeah, there's a lot of details, a lot of weird imagery, but it looks fantastic, honestly. I know the best part about this is definitely the art. Ding, a new guest has arrived. And then we see Alice laying on the ground, and then she wakes up to see a door in distance. And then she wakes up, she stands up, and she's just looking plainly at the door, smile and all, not a care in the world. But we see that the room that she's in is literally just empty, completely empty, just the door. She notices something written on her hand, and it says 431, and then the door in front of her says 430. She walks up to the door, tries to open it, when from behind her there is a serpent-like creature that says, "Welcome to my manor." How many decades has it been? It has truly been a while since I last had a new guest. My name is Serpent. My little guest number 431. What is your name? She responds with, "I'm Alice." Hehehe. As he snaps his fingers. Well then, Alice, please make yourself at home in this room. Wait here until the party begins. The party? Indeed, this is a banquet of the most wonderful kind. It'll take a little time to prepare, but rest assured, you will not be waiting idly. For as long as you're inside this room, all your wishes shall come true. As her stomach growls, she says, "Aw." Serpent snaps his fingers, and then a giant strawberry spawns behind her. Hehehe. It would appear that you're hungry. Here's a present. Well then, I'll be leaving to attend to the other guests. But please, take note not to leave your room. Enjoy your stay, as he transports away. Alice, 5 days before her entry, we see a town getting consumed by a bunch of shipwrecks, and it looks like to be spreading across the whole city. We see Alice walking through the abandoned city and ripping off the arm of the little doll that she found on the ground. She smells something good and she walks towards it, leaving the doll behind with a butterfly on top of it. Back in the manor, Alice is done eating, and she goes over to the door and walks inside, noticing that her hand is slowly rotting. Serpent comes from behind and screams out, "Alice! Did I not tell you not to leave your room? Return at once." Oh my, I'm sorry. Serpent wraps his tail around her and throws her out. If you distance yourself from the room, your body would rot. My, good gracious. You already are a part of this manor, your fate rests on it. I don't get it. Certainly, including you, the manor housed 431 guests and 431 rooms. Fully booked then? The manor always is. For every new visitor, a single new room is added. Weird. That's how it's always been. Since long ago. And then, when room 666 is made, when room 666 is made, the party to celebrate the manor's completion shall begin. For your information, guests who attend the party would not be able to leave the manor for all eternity. For all eternity? Unfortunately, it is the rules. There's no reason to be upset, though, is there? You can realize all that you wish for, after all. No life could be better, compare and contrast to the outside world. Full of foolish conflicts and fetters? Full of foolish conflicts and fetters. There are good things too out there, you know. I don't want to go to no party. I want to go home. What a silly girl. Well, it's not as if there's absolutely no way to leave, I suppose. That catches the interest of Alice. Let's hear it. The serpent turns, looking at her. If you wish to return to the outside world, you'll have to reach room 0. It's the first room ever made within this manor. There's no exit, but there. Alice tries to run straight towards the door. Here I go. Now, slow down. Your room is room 431. In other words, from your current position, you'll have to pass through 431 rooms. Therein lies the problem. As I've said, the further you are from this room, the more my body will rot. Bingo. Precisely. Look at your hand. It's back to normal, isn't it? It really is. It is of no issue if you remain in your room. If the rot spreads throughout your entire body, however, that petite body of yours will crumble, and death will be upon you. If I may be frank, this tantamount to suicide. Furthermore, you can't discount the possibility of the manor receiving guest number 666 before you reach room 0. Starting the party while you're still in the middle of your journey, can you? Serpent realizes that Alice has already opened the door, saying, "Means I gotta hurry." The door closes, and Serpent says that you will regret this, Alice. We get another flashback of Alice 4 days before the entry. She's still walking around the abandoned city, sniffing in the air, smelling something really good, as she climbs up the abandoned stairs and even climbs on the electrical wires. I knew it, this smell, as she stands on top of a giant turret. 430. Excuse me. Hee. Butterfly, butterfly. Stop on the canola flower leaf. If you get bored with the leaves, play with the cherry blossoms. As she's walking through what seems to be a bunch of shrines, she hears a booming voice that says, "The court is now in session." Wow, this so far this series is freaking beautiful. Like every panel I'm looking at is just so impressive to look at. It is very, very different from like normal manga, I will say. I can see why a lot of people really like this. Alice stands in front of a giant shrine, surrounded by people kneeling, and the curtains on the shrine open up, revealing a giant samurai, saying, "Sinner, step forward." Alice looks at the samurai, screaming, "Whoa, a giant!" And that is the end of chapter 1. Okay. So far, still very confused. Well, it's not very confusing. I'm guessing she's like the only survivor. I'm not the only survivor, but like just one of the survivors of like the attack that we saw in the beginning of the snake. Hopefully that's explained soon. It probably will be. We just gotta keep on going. But as the dolls keep on working on the machine, we see the giant screaming, "Sinner, step forward." We see from a trolley, a person is tied up and then dropped in front of the shrine, with 2 dolls holding samurai swords towards his chest. The samurai says, "Confess your sins." "I bullied my classmate and drove him to commit suicide." The giant replies, "It says here that the man survived." The man replies, "Ah, did he?" "Alright, he hanged himself but didn't die." "Well, dead, alive, you couldn't tell the difference with him really." The giant replies, "Why did you abuse him?" The man replied, "Why? Just one reason. It was fun. The guy was a wussy, you know? Ah, so dang fun. You free today?" "Yeah, we good. I'll borrow some cash from my friend." "'Kay, catch you later." "Ugh. Hey, who told you to stop being a chair and go back to being a human, huh?" As he starts stomping on the man's head. "Chairs don't talk," and he shoves a bottle into his mouth. "Ugh, nasty, dude." The man continues to talk on the phone while the guy laying down is starting to scratch his own chest. The giant replies, "Was it that fun?" Man replies, "Ah, it was fun as," and then he gets his head chopped off by one of the dolls. Alice sees the whole thing but is just unfazed. Then suddenly, Serpent comes from behind and wraps her around his tail. Children really shouldn't be seeing this, and the man's head starts to engulf in flames. The giant repeats, "Next sinner, step forward." Another man is dropped in front of the shrine. Serpent then explains, "This guest, you see, ever since he came to the manor, he's been killing the same person over and over again." The giant gets angry, saying that he is not a chair, and the dolls begin to chop off a bunch of heads of the same guy. The samurai starts cursing him out, saying, "It was fun? You think it was fun for me? How about you be my chair?" The serpent replies, "Year after year, surrounded by soldiers in possession of unquestioning loyalty." As we see the dolls become more demented, surrounding itself around Alice, but Alice doesn't seem to care really. The giant starts speaking again. "No, not just him. Those guys who just sat there and watched too. Those useless teachers. All of you. You're dead meat." Serpent starts calling for Alice and wraps Alice up again, and they begin to run away to the next room, saying, "This room's quite a bit dangerous." The samurai gets mad, saying, "No matter how many heads you have, it'll never be enough for my chair," as he starts swinging towards Serpent. Serpent tells Alice to go to the next room or back, but just get a move on. The samurai gets even more angry, screaming out, "Never!" Serpent repeats again, "I suggest you leave this room." Alice then smiles and just says, "Probably should," as she walks out to the next room. That is chapter 2. Okay, it's pretty interesting. every room the person that's in, or like the visitor, gets like a wish, and then their wish just basically comes true, and there's like no limit to that wish, which is interesting. It's kind of like their punishment in a way as well. It's pleasurable, but it's like a punishment. I don't know what will happen when room 666 will be completed. I'm guessing they're just trapped forever, but for these people that are stuck in these rooms, well, specifically the one in room 430, it doesn't seem like he wants to leave anyway. So I don't know. We'll just have to keep on reading and seeing. We get another flashback of Alice 3 days before the entry, singing, "Where are you? Where are you?" And she starts sniffing the ocean. We see her sliding down, getting closer to the ocean, saying, "It's close." We go back to the manor, now in room 413. As she sings, "On the blossom of the cherry blossoms," she gets caught off guard and slips, saying, "Whoa, my oh my, ugh." She lets go of the handle and she starts falling, saying, "I'm falling into the sky?" She lands and Serpent is right next to her, laughing. "Are you alright, Alice?" She asks, "What is this room?" Serpent replies, "The occupant of this room wished to become a bird." As we see a beautiful, bro, this panel is so beautiful. It's like, look at how much the detail on the bird is. Also very disturbing. It is very, very disturbing. Also, what are they flying through? Are they flying through like the ocean? What is that background? But Serpent explains, to be free from the meaningless borders drawn across the ground, to be free from the unsightly conflicts of man, that was her wish. That's crazy. This is like the Eren Yeager thing where he just becomes a bird. I guess that's spoilers for people who haven't watched Attack on Titan, but yeah. She just wanted freedom, guys. She just wanted freedom. She soars the heavens every day, forgetting the fact that she was once human. Alice, do you truly wish to return to the outside world? She replies, "You bet," as her arm is starting to rot even more. The system forbids me from leaving the manor. In other words, I have never beheld reality. Listening to the wishes of my guest made me think that for you humans to leave this manor is to let go of great happiness. Alice replies, "That might be true. Even so, what I want isn't some world of lies that I made myself, but to experience the itty-bitty happiness of the real world." Alice is getting closer to the tail, and she leaps off, saying, "I hate lies." As she falls, she lands on a feather, laughing. When she reaches the moon, she sees the door, saying, "See you later." Serpent replied, "Stubborn child." Flashback to 2 days until the entry. Alice is walking by the ocean, sniffing again, as we see debris of turrets in the background. She walks by a bunch of shipwrecks, saying, "Should be around here though." In the present, she is in room 385. She's saying, "Stop and play, play and stop," laughing as again her arm is just rotting even more. She is on top of a floating island with a bunch of other islands right next to her, saying, "Excuse me," but is interrupted when someone leaps in front of her, a horrifying monster, but she's unfazed, saying, "Good day. Might this be your room?" The monster is about to claw her until she is saved by a mechanical man, saying, "I shan't forgive the evildoer. Repent for the peace and glory of the galaxy. I am Space Mobile Prince Erakram." He turns around and looks at Alice, but Alice is unfazed. He then shouts again his name, and Alice just looks up like nothing happened. The monster charges straight at them, and he says, "Hey, time out." And he's paused. He goes up to Alice saying, "Have you never heard of Erakram? It's that worldwide super bestseller comic, you know? It's been translated into 50 languages, you know? Even the merchandise sells like candy, you know?" Alice looks at him, confused. He goes, "Oh no," and then hits resume. They even, as the monster is about to attack, he pulls out his sword and slices the monster in half, saying, "Made games out of it." The monster explodes, and he responds, "Whoops, gotta be cool." He senses a creature behind them, screaming, "More is coming." On the backs of the creature, her babies are being revealed and then are shot towards them. As they land towards them, they're repeating the word, "Work. Get married." He then replies, "In the world of this Erakram, evil shall be exterminated to the last. Screw everything outside though," as he takes out all of the monsters. Out of nowhere, girls in bikinis start coming out, screaming for his name, as Alice just looks and says, "So cliche." A horrifying monster is laughing at him, saying, not bad at all. However, this is the day I reduced the galaxy into space dust. Ericram responds, that voice, shooting star, sorcerer noble. How do I pronounce this name, bruh? I don't know how to pronounce this name. Tazrisco? Sure, let's go with Tazrisco. Tazrisco has a freaking crazy art design too. Look at that. That's insane. This is something like Guillermo del Toro would do, low-key. Ericram replies, in your dreams. Suit swap, as we see that he's actually an obese man, and he switches his armor to have a blaster like Mega Man. Alice says, you're not exactly young, are you? The monster replies, you can't even handle the words of a little girl. My pathetic son, leave your room, work, get married. Ericram says, don't look at me. Don't laugh at me. Accept me, as he shoots his blaster towards the monster. The monster explodes, revealing the door, as more bikini girls start running towards Ericram. While the hero is getting smooched, Alice runs to the door, saying, I'm out of here. And that's the next chapter. Dang. Okay. That last chapter was not subtle at all. We flash back to Alice one day before entry, as she has finally found the smell that she's been looking for. A book covered up in chains, saying, there you are. In room 366, she meets a smoking man and says, what happened to you, Missy? And she replies, Smokey. In room 359, it's a man shaped in a bunch of instruments, and he's playing for Alice, as Alice cheerfully plays along. In the room 339, the person is a tree, asking Alice, you wish to return to the outside world? And Alice replies, pretty much, as we see now that the back of her neck is getting more rotten. Room 330, we see a naked woman asking, wanna have some fun? And she replies, lewd. In room 324, she's in outer space, and the astronaut asks, don't you just want to smell the universe? And she replies, can't say I do. Room 312, she's in a room full of TVs, with one of the TVs screaming, baby, you feeling it? And Alice replies, feeling annoyed, yeah. We see Alice continuing to walk as more of her body keeps on rotting, now down to her legs. Room 306, we see a man with $1 billion saying, there's nothing but lies outside the manor. And Alice responding, I don't know. Room 298, we see a giant man baby saying, what are we playing? And Alice responds, I'll listen to your wish. And then she enters the next room, saying later. We go back to the flashback as she picks up the book and she starts smelling it, saying, smells like my little brother. Laughing, saying, let's go home. In room 285, my body is as heavy as lead. The rot has spread terribly, as now that she's struggling to walk, with what looks like a wolf or a dog spawning out of her head, and she's struggling to speak, saying, gotta eat plenty when I get out of here. She's walking by a realistic looking house, and she hears, chew, chew, after that, papa, and as she walks inside, she sees a family enjoying dinner. The mother replies, oh, is she one of your students? And the father replies, no, I've never seen her before. Who might you be? Alice replies, could you be wishing for a life in the outside world? Would you like to go with me to room 0? As the man is looking angrily at her, he slams the table, saying, you barged into my house and then you sprout this nonsense? Get out or I'll call the police. Damn brat. She replies, oh my. The serpent then appears, saying, you made it rather far, Alice. My, I see that the desire poison is spreading throughout your body. Anyhow, this guest will never respond favorably to your invitation, as we see the father talk to the boy saying, don't leave any on your plate. And he responds, yes, papa. The serpent then says he does not wish to live in the outside world. And Alice says, I figured, yeah. He was a teacher. He spent his days teaching logic and ethics to children so that they would grow up to be good adults. His family, however, was far from the ideal he preached. It appeared that his wife grew distant and his child errant, stuck between his inapplicable doctrines. We see a little girl responding, and you? Are you a good man? Serpent continues saying, and the unbearable reality, he suffered, as we see a bunch of alcoholic beverages on the ground, as he's drinking his sorrows away from his family leaving him. He sees the family come back, but the boy withers away. As Serpent says, time was to blame for it. The curse called time, laid to waste their love. We then see the father grabbing a clock and just smashing it on the ground, smashing anything related to time. And the man grew insane, turning whatever rubble from the clocks into food. telling his son, "Don't leave any on your plate," and him responding, "Yes, Papa." Serpent then continues saying, "This is a place without time, as the family are starting to chew, but demonically. A place where reality never betrays the ideal. A place where you can live your perfect life." As we see a scary image of the father chewing on the mechanical pieces of the clock. Alice replies, "You call this life? You call this living?" The serpent responds, "If nothing else, he does." And Alice walks into the next room. Ooh, some deep stuff. That was a pretty good chapter, low-key. It's kind of like what I said. Even though they get everything they wish for, they're still like being punished because they're getting reminded of their trauma, even though they're just trying to escape. So from what I'm getting at now is that this is hell. The references are all there. The manor will be complete once there's 666. That's the number of the devil, you know. So I'm guessing the manor is just hell and the serpent is the devil. The serpent is just trying to get Alice to stay in hell, not having her leave, tempting her with a bunch of great things. What normally the devil will do, the devil will tempt you into pleasurable, what seems like good things. That is what the devil normally does, and that is what the serpent is doing here. So it makes a lot of sense that this manor is just hell. Alright, chapter 5. Alice, 10 seconds until entry. As we see her grabbing a book, she laughs and she opens the book. Alice, 3 seconds until entry. The book starts floating and starts turning the pages rapidly. As the pages flip, we see a bunch of numbers. 2 seconds. The page opens to 431. 1 second. And we see Alice transported inside the book. We are now in room 276. Alice is barely surviving, still rotting, and still having 276 chapters to go. Someone calls her, "Young lady, why do you wish to return to the outside world? There is nothing there." Indeed, nothing but pain, 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 as she keeps on repeating the word pain. Alice replies, "But..." The woman interrupts her, saying, "Silence. Have you any idea how painful it is to dream of yourself drowning in a bog, fearing death's footsteps every night?" As she crushes a rose. "The dream haunts me, not within this manner. Here I remain myself, my beauty everlasting." Alice replies, "Didn't you have a family? Was there no one? Who would be sad if you were gone?" The woman gets angry and says, "Quit. Quit your nonsense, little girl," as the beautiful young woman turns into a rotting witch. They would never be sad for me." We see the woman screaming in pain. "They all must have nothing but disdain for me, whom they had to keep footing the hospital bills for. I could tell. How dare they? How dare they? I might be like this, but I'm still alive." We see the old woman walking to the forest saying, "This isn't me. I'm more beautiful, healthier," as she reaches for the noose. Before she goes for the noose, she realizes the book on the ground. "They must be glad that I'm gone." She opens it. "That's why I'm here, remaining truly myself in this manner." The room starts flooding with blood and roses. The woman is crying, saying, "In this room, I could live forever." As the room continues to flood with blood, Alice walks out of the room, turning back, seeing the woman with a skull on her face. We see a hole on the roof of Alice's bedroom in the outside world, pointing light towards the bed, as we see a bunch of statues and paintings surrounding the bed, realizing that the bed is actually on top of a giant hill, with someone screaming, "Help." Oh, that was chapter 5. Oh, who could that guy be? What even is it? So this is obviously Alice's bed, but there's also like a bunch of like different like sculptures and paintings and like other relics. Could that just be pieces of the people that are in this manor, the people that are in hell? Maybe it could be that. That would make a lot of sense. Like all of these are like important to that person. So chapter 6. I hear the mad voices of people. I open the door, and we see a grotesque, disfigured version of Alice. Yo, that bottom panel right here looks so sick. What? That is actually awesome. The amount of detail on that is crazy. But now, she's on chapter 268. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. The freaking chapters. So yeah, the hell she's in is a book, and all the rooms are just page numbers. That's actually kind of cool. That's pretty cool. The whole world that she's in is a book. That's kind of sick. I like that. I like that little detail. We see Alice again struggling to walk on thin pieces of paper. walking towards Serpent at the end. Serpent says, "Just like you, the occupant of this room once sought to reach room 0. Or should I say, page 0, as he starts laughing. This is all that remains of him. All those pieces of paper are just the last guy, trying to reach room 0. So this technically isn't this guy's room. I wonder whose room it was. And then also, what was this guy's, like, the thing that remains of him? I wonder what his old room was. That would be pretty interesting to know. His soul, with nowhere to go after his body completely crumbled, was dragged back into his room, became words. Oh, never mind. Okay, we just solved it. And preserved until the party begins. Serpent laughs. Is he not pitiful? His memories, emotions, all reduced to this? Whoa, this is sick. Hold on. Serpent tempts her again. Return to your room, Alice. You don't want to end up like this, do you? Alice continues to walk towards the next room, with the serpent saying, Alice, what is it that drives you so? What is it that you desire in the outside world? Good gracious. Foolish child. She has no idea that page 0 is made to be unreachable. Still, I suppose you could say that her foolishness is proof of her humanity. The book requires 235 more people for it to be complete. Just how long would it take? I've had enough of this. How I wish to begin the party already. I've grown sick and tired of having to keep granting the ridiculous wishes of these humans. And then, I must bring them also. They will listen to my voice. As he laughs away. We see a bunch of people tied up on a bunch of poles saying, "It's coming. Help, it's coming. The beast is coming." On page 255, Alice wakes up inside of a giant glass dome. She's back to normal, and we see a scientist examining her. As he presses a red button, she gets out through a slide. The doctor says, "Thanks to you, I've got some great data now. I've been researching the book ever since I've entered it. I've never encountered anything more fascinating than this. I've cloned myself and from every angle been inspecting, analyzing the book. There's so much data to process after all." As we see a giant laboratory filled with data and clones of the doctor. "I found you collapsed at the entrance. You are at death's door. I've injected you with a drug I've developed. It suppresses the rot temporarily. Awesome, isn't it? Awesome, aren't I? Too bad it only works once. Disappointed? Hey, disappointed aren't you?" As they surround Alice. "As a token of apology, I'll tell you the secret of this book we're all trapped in. Oi! Time to work." As we see one of the clones' brains hops around like a dog. The dog starts running around Alice, and the doctor tells the dog to calm down. "We're starting." The dog brain turns into a projector, and the doctor explains, when this manner, or rather, this book, consumes 666 people, it'll bind all of its flesh and souls together, merging it into one being of immense power. That's the party the serpent speaks of. For every wish granted to one the book has consumed, its magic drives their heart matter, and they grow ever distant to their neighbors and the outside world. It makes it stay in their rooms and rots away the very desire to escape. And that's not all. It also has a system in place that makes reaching page 0 absolutely impossible. Alice replies, "How so?" Doctor says it's the desire poison that grows more severe the further you are from your room. The book is made so that the lower the page number, the faster travel rots your body. Insidious, I'd say. From my calculations, those in the rooms below room 100 can't even enter their neighbors without crumbling utterly. The doctors are saying you're wasting your time. You will never reach page 0. Don't go any further. Alice then says, by the way, which one of you is the original? And all of the clones say, "Me, of course." And they begin to get frustrated at each other. They start to fight as Alice then continues to the next room. And that's the end of chapter 6. Okay, so now we know the serpent is doing. Okay, so now the serpent is just going to be taking over the world. Pretty much the devil taking over the world. Pretty good. Okay. Now it's getting like easier and easier to basically understand. And I'm guessing the reason why Alice is so desperate to go back is because she misses her brother, or she thinks she can find her brother, which is a good desire. You know, it's a good reason to go all the way back. I think that's the reason. I don't know. Well, we'll have to see. On page 254, a man growing from the forehead of another man says, "I should have never been born as a human. Oh God, who declares me innocent." As Alice just runs away singing, "Gotta hurry, gotta hurry." Every room that she goes to, the occupants become more distorted and frightful, begging to free them from their troubles. It goes on and on as, again, Alice starts to rot faster with every door she goes through, facing the most disturbing and disgusting of monsters. But she keeps on going. Now both her legs fully transformed. Her entire upper body, her entire hands, and now her face are starting to rot the closer she's getting towards the 100 areas, until she is fully transformed. The serpent meets her at the end of one of the doors, saying, "Alice, how miserable you look. Has the maddening pain crushed your mind? Return to your room and you'll be back to normal." But Alice ignores him and jumps right over him, dashing to the next room. She goes door by door, page 132, 110, now reaching page 100, with the doctor speaking in her mind, insidious. Those in the rooms below 100 can't even enter their neighbors without crumbling utterly, and you will never reach page 0. As Alice reaches page 99, as she enters, she fully collapses. The serpent says that she's dead and starts laughing, saying, "You see that? Fools who seek escape will only find death. You'll only die and turn into words. Which part of you will turn first? Your arms, legs, brain?" As he continues to laugh hysterically. Alice begins to move, and Serpent goes, that's odd. Why isn't she turning? We're seeing that she's beginning to unrot, surprising the serpent. She begins to get up, removing all of the rot off her, now looking normal. Oh, that was cool. Wonder why she's unrotting. Now she's getting super desperate, she's close. She's like at 99 now. Alright, chapter 8. She stands up, fully rid of the rot, and she stares down at the serpent. The serpent is confused. What in the world? Alice continues to walk, smiling. As the serpent tries to confront her, she dashes towards the next door. She charges in, but as soon as she charges, her entire body starts to rot. But when her whole body does, Alice leaps out of it like a shell. Now Alice is desperately trying to reach every single door as the serpent is so confused. The system should kill you hundreds of times over before you could ever escape. How? How is she standing back up? Don't tell me. A system error? Or is it possible that Alice possesses an immortal bod? No, that's not it. Every time she falls, I can, without a doubt, feel the candle of her life going out. That much is certain. There's no mistaking it. There's no question that she's dying. As she reaches page 35, hundreds of times over, hundreds of times over, hundreds of times over, she should be dying hundreds of times over. Alice sees the last door in sight. Alice opens the door and walks through it, removing all of the rot off her body, with the serpent saying, "How is this possible? For centuries since the creation of the manor, nobody has ever reached page 0, the table of contents. Just what in the world is your body? Answer me, Alice." Alice then replies, walking towards the door, "Once upon a time, in a certain island country." The serpent interrupts, screaming, "Are you listening to me, Alice?" As she says, "We'll continue this later." She opens the door and walks out, but the serpent screams out, "Wait!" But he can't leave, due to a symbol burning the hand of the serpent, saying, "A cursed system." And as we see, page 431 is now removed. He's questioning himself, what in the world is that little girl? Why? Why didn't she die? Why didn't she turn into words? Why? Why? How many more years do I have until this before he can finish? He hears a ding. A new guest has arrived. 431. He's confused. What? Who could it be? Could it be Alice? Another ding sounds. 432. No, wait. More dinging appears as now more rooms are starting to appear. A new guest has arrived. Serpent is confused but glad. What? Guests are coming one after another? Oh, I've never seen anything like this before. Such speed. Unbelievable. As now 634 pages are in the book. It dings even more until it reaches 666. The serpent stares, and now the manor is complete. Oh, that's a really cool picture of the freaking serpent. That looks crazy. Okay, that's wild. Alright. I always saw from the text bubble that it said there was like an unforgiving princess or something. So I'm guessing Alice is like a princess from like a different island, I guess. Also, what did Alice do to like complete the book. I mean, her goal wasn't to, it makes sense because her goal wasn't to stop the book from being complete. She just wanted to go home. So she could care less about the book being complete. So that makes sense. But okay, now that we know that the book is complete, now the devil's just gonna rule over the world. We just gotta see. So chapter 9, we're like 3 chapters away, I think. No, 4 chapters plus this one. Okay. The long wait is over at last, says the serpent. At last, at last, at last, the party shall begin. I will at last obtain life, as all of the buttons start merging onto the serpent. We see in page 666 a man waking up, and he sees Serpent coming out of the room with his new body. The man is confused, but then we see Serpent charging straight at the man, consuming him. And as he finishes consuming, an extra pair of arms grow. Now the serpent is going room to room, devouring people and gaining new arms. We see on Alice's bed sparks of electricity coming out of the book. We see the book open up and electricity is sprouting out of the book. The entire book is shaking, but in reality, it's Serpent devouring all of the pages. Await my coming, foolish humans. I will use my power to create a world where you shall not weep. With the serpent's new transformation, he charges straight at door 0, trying to leave the book. But as we see, the serpent bursts out through the book into the outside world. The serpent's hand reaches out and causes a massive hole in the building, his arm so long destroying another building across from it. What is that? I'm guessing it's like an egg of some kind. It could be like the serpent's egg, kind of like what we saw in the beginning. I don't know what that is. But we see the serpent's now new and completed body in the outside world. Now chapter 10. He's amazed at the outside world as he's roaming through the abandoned city. So this is reality. Every time he slithers and holds on to buildings, they start crushing, and he laughs, destroying all of the city. But he's questioning everything. Why? Why is there nobody here? He charges up the pages from his back, and he opens his mouth wide open for a blast. He shoots towards a bunch of buildings and destroys it all. He starts screaming, "Come out and worship me, now!" But then Alice appears, singing, "Stop and play, play and stop." The serpent recognizes Alice, and she says, "Let's continue." Once upon a time, in a certain island country, there lived an unforgettable princess. The princess was terribly ill. It was her wish to go outside, but she couldn't. Ever since she was born, the high fever never left her, and only reading brought her comfort, it seemed. The serpent is mad, destroying pieces of the town, screaming at Alice, saying, "What nonsense are you spouting?" But she continues. There's no telling whether it was because of her sickness or that she was simply born with it, but the princess possessed a particular memory. Once she's seen something, she can never forget it. Making full use of it, she absorbed information at blinding speed. Then she ordered that all kinds of books from all corners of the world be brought before her. Her aberrant love towards knowledge, as she starts thinking, the world that I can't see, just how big is it? What beautiful things fill it? What sort of people live in it? What goes on in their minds? I want to know. I want to know. Tell me. My head hurts. I don't want to die. It hurts. It hurts. I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to die. It hurts. I don't want to live anymore. Tell me. Hey, tell me more. I want words about the world, truth. I want to know, so that I may strongly wish to live in this world. I want the whole truth. Eventually, the princess made plans to create the book to end all books. The serpent's confused. What are you saying? We see a bunch of men building something, and the princess going through an elevator approaching the machine. The princess named the book containing all knowledge, the Book of Truth, as she stands up and walks towards it. As she grabs the book starts to wrap itself around her, and she becomes a giant monster, carrying one of the workers and turning his body into words. The princess then starts attacking all the other workers, turning them into words. The book transcribes automatically all human memories and emotions, turning everyone in the town into words. Possessing life that would not end, even when faced with storms of the sea and searing flames, the newly born book, however, had a weakness. The humans took advantage of it, the weakness of the book leaping with joy at the sight of the world it had never seen before and the collection of sweet knowledge. As we see the giant gun starts shooting towards the book, towards the princess. Using biblioclastic rounds embedded with the concentrated magic of the humans of the time, the book was sealed in a coffin of inferno. The serpent looks over and says, "Don't tell me," and he sees the giant coffin, the egg, with a giant hole coming out of it. Okay, I see. That's crazy. Okay, so Alice is the princess and she wanted a book of all knowledge, so she just captured everyone in the world and turned it into the book. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of cool. Okay, wait, this is chapter 11. Okay, 2 more chapters. The Great Biblioclastic War ended. Relief and joy came upon the world. Then, many years have passed. Speaking of which, using the princess's research notes, they made a couple of low page count copies, I've heard. They wanted to use them in their wars. The serpent's confused. It can't be. There were inferior knockoffs that couldn't even decipher words, humans that they've eaten, but they were powerful enough apparently. However, the research facility was sabotaged by an opposing country. The books burned, and the lucky few copies untouched by the flames were scattered across the globe. The humans pretended to forget about the book of truth they put to sleep, until it was no longer pretend. 1,786 months and 24 days after the end of the Great Biblioclastic War, the book of truth opened once more. As we see people looking towards the egg with a giant hole, a giant cloud foaming out of it. A face appears from the cloud, and people started turning into words. Can you believe this video? What the hell is this? Wait, is this real? 4 countries have been attacked? Is it terrorist? No, it's some kind of monster. We're hearing more of the chaos of the entire world, as we see now that the cloud has turned into a giant butterfly, fully transforming into a monstrous butterfly. World leaders are watching through televisions and decides to send military men after it. We see battleships and air forces going to attack Alice. The panicked humans did everything they could, scrambled to gather the ballistic rounds, which were relics of a bygone era by then, and fired them. However, it did nothing to the book, which had already eaten plenty. The second war between man and book ended in book victory. Alice then says, "Here's a question. After I came out of you, book, how exactly did so many people enter you so quickly?" "It's simple. I just forcefully showed you to my food." As we see inside of the egg, the people tied up, begging for help, Alice goes up to them and reveals the book to them, sucking them into the book. Okay, so that's how they got to the 666 so fast. Okay, I see. "I used up quite a lot of souls inside you, so I ate the extra food I had in stock. Sorry about that. That's why nobody's here anymore. Did you think you were the only book? Did you think you were special?" The serpent is terrified, screaming, "Stop!" He goes to attack Alice, but all he hears is laughter. Alice then transforms into her true form. That is sick. That is such a sick panel. I've seen that panel before. I literally used it in the thumbnail. I didn't know what it was. I assumed it was Alice, but She replies, "I was aware of your existence. I opened the door knowingly. I wanted to see for myself what's inside my worthless little brother and his birth." Oh, okay. So the serpent is Alice's little brother, because she's the... Oh, okay. Nothing more. The serpent begins nervously laughing, and she tries to squish him with her hand, but he slithers out of the way. He tries to run away, but Alice laughs and says, "Let's review. A book with far more than 666 pages was made. A book incomparably greater. Even now, it consumes souls, adding more pages into it." A bunch of hands goes towards the serpent, grabbing him as he's screaming to stop, but Alice consumes the serpent. Their anger, sadness, joy, strength, weakness, wishes, prayers, all truth is turning into words. All truth is being carved into me. Rejoice, for I shall keep you in my records. The fact that you are alive. What is this? Oh man, I can't even, sometimes I can't even tell what's going on here. The serpent's belly begins to explode and all of the words start flooding out. that you surrendered yourself to desire, regretted, envied, cursed the world in your madness, I will not forget even the tiniest, slightest, most insignificant wavering of your heart. All that you've seen, heard, felt will remain as information forevermore, even if all life eventually ceases to be. The serpent replied, what good will recording them do? Alice replies, I don't know. It's meaningless, most likely. However, I have to consume the soul of man, adding more words. The serpent then disintegrates into a skeleton, and even his skeleton disintegrates into dust. For that is my happiness. Alice then returns into her human form, saying, although there's probably nobody left to read it now, as we see the same doll with his arm ripped off and a butterfly on top of it. And that is Bibliomania. That is, wow. Whew. It was honestly really, really good. I loved the entire book. It was drawn so beautifully. I do wonder though, like, how did the serpent make like the book? In my interpretation, he must be like the devil. So, but if that's the case, then did Alice become like a sort of god or like an angel when like the scientists created a book? That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing she just became like a godly figure. So that's why she created a book. But could there be like other people, the possibility of making the book, or was it just the serpent and Alice? Well, obviously we'll never know because there won't be a sequel to this, or at least I don't think there'll be ever a sequel to this. I can now see the meaning behind the John 10:16 verse. Alice was basically the shepherd, in the same way that the serpent was a shepherd as well, leading people into their books, except that there technically isn't a good shepherd. It's just both of them just fighting for the control of the people. The part where it says that there will be like one flock with one shepherd is basically like the whole reason for this series to take place. It's Alice wanting to be the only one book, only one book, one shepherd, aka herself. I love the ending. It just reminded me of like just a giant kaiju battle, but obviously super one-sided, and obviously the crazy twist of Alice just being this evil entity that she is. I also like that the ending isn't like a good ending. It's not like a bad ending. It's not a sad ending, not a happy ending. It's just an ending that was suitable for the series that it was. The foreshadowing throughout this whole thing was insane. Not just with like the doll and the butterfly, and like also with how Alice was just so nonchalant about everything that was going on. Like she was literally facing like nightmarish creatures, and she was just like smiling throughout the whole thing. You could tell that she was either just like a villain or just like something was just off in like her brain. The whole time I didn't picture her as like a protagonist. She was just like a character we were watching. I wasn't rooting for her, but I also just didn't want her to reach her goal. I was just more curious at like what her story was. I was curious about what she was, the mystery behind her, and like what would happen if we did reach the 666 goal from the serpent, which we did find out. What was the whole deal with the war? What was the whole deal with the egg? What was the whole deal with everything? And we got answered to almost everything. We got answers to almost everything. I do like my interpretation of the story, even though I could see a lot of different interpretations. I'm leaning more towards that the book was just hell, with every page being a room for the person to try to run away from their trauma, except it just keeps on coming back to them, like haunting them, basically an eternal punishment for them. The serpent was definitely like a symbol for the devil, the way it was just trying to tempt Alice and the others with temptation of desire and pleasure and their sin. It definitely made a lot of sense to me. I can't remember any other references to like the Bible or any symbolism that like I missed. I don't really remember any of that, but I also don't remember like any references or symbolisms to like the doll. I know that the butterfly was supposed to be Alice, but I don't know who the doll was supposed to be. It could be the serpent, it could be like humanity, the way that Alice just easily ripped it apart. But like I loved it like no matter what. Even though it left me a little bit confused, I was still fully satisfied with it. It's nothing that will ruin the series for me. This is a series that you just have to read over and over and over again to get like the little references, the foreshadowing. It's a great series. I really, really loved it. I hope the creators or creator makes another series, because this is the only series that he's ever made, or they've ever made. But if I missed anything, any references, any symbolisms, we can always just discuss it in the comments below. But thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys liked more videos in this like format, then let me know. Let's get this video to 2K likes. But I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll be posting the next special on November 8th, so stay tuned for that. And if you guys want more videos of horror manga, then why not just scroll down and hit that subscribe button. But I'll be seeing you guys in the next video.